everyone. How are you? Hello. Welcome to our World Book Day Poetry Slam with Night. Thank you all for coming. I'm Sophie. I'm going to be introducing the poets tonight. I go to Butler in the MFA program, and I'm also a reader for Booth. So as some of you know, Booth has partnered with Indy Reads to give you all this event tonight. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Booth. Indy Reads is a nonprofit, and they work to empower families through literacy, as well as improve English language skills and create job readiness programs. So purchases made from the bookstore go directly to helping them accomplish those goals. And then Booth, it's a literature magazine, and the staff is comprised of students, alumni, and faculty from Butler. So we publish fiction, nonfiction, poetry, comics. So if any of you have stuff that you want published, send them our way. Well, actually, submissions are closed, but in the next submission period, do that. So the format for tonight, we're going to start off with our slam, and there's going to be 2 rounds for that. Each person will come up and do their first poem, and then we'll decide on 3 people to go forward to the next round. So we have 2 judges, and we'll score them 1 to 10, and then whoever gets the highest for the first round will go on to the second one. And let's see if there's anything else. Since it is a family event, everyone hold back your swear words. Okay. And let's see. Oh, first we're going to have Beck come up and do a trial run. They will be our sacrificial poet. So you can see how that will go and then just follow the format. So, okay.
We're about to be flayed alive. Okay, let's see. Never been a sacrificial poet before, so this is fun. Yeah, okay. Cool. In which I'm obsessed with baskets. All baskets, Walmart baskets, Target baskets, little wicker baskets, soft cloth baskets that I can run my fingers over and over and over again till my fingers have worn and filed down the skin. I'm on the phone with my mom in Myers, and I say baskets with a little jump, and my mom's voice says through the line, "You don't need any more baskets. What are you gonna do with all your baskets?" And I stare at the baskets for several minutes and think, to be honest, I'm not quite sure. So what am I going to do with all these baskets? They're bowl shapes, they're slim shapes, they're rough and cut open shapes, they're me shapes. They're tucked into my bathroom cabinets, by the bathroom, in the crevices of my bedside tables, and near my desk filled with my cat's toys are baskets all over my apartment. I don't need all these baskets, all these little baskets, all these not quite filled baskets, all these half filled with pieces of something else baskets. How much of these other things can I fill until it fills me too? These baskets are their own things, their own assorted collections, and I've spread myself through them, even the empty ones and the filled and run over like water in a tub ones. They are empty when I get them, and I fill them with so much of myself that perhaps then I'm left empty. So what am I going to do with all these baskets? I will continue to sort through the baskets until I find the pieces of myself lost in someone else's basket. We love it.
Great check.
Awesome. Okay, so that's kind of how it's going to be run. And Sophie, whenever you are ready.
Okay, so also I forgot to mention that we're going to do an open mic after this, and if anyone wants to sign up for that, you still can. Beck has the sign up sheet, or no, it's back there. So feel free to do that. So our first poet's going to be JD. Whenever you're ready. Woo!
Evening, everybody.
Yeah, this piece is a portion of a long poem that I wrote called Marigold Elegy for my opponent. To say it plainly, Indianapolis, your grocery stores are racist. This is not to say that at home in Chicago, the stores are not segregated. A whole wall of crackers, several aisles devoted to the potato, chips, fries of unbelievable geometry, Asia and Latin America crammed into one aisle, and if you're lucky, you maybe find harissa paste, Africa's only resident in this grocery store ghetto. But Indianapolis, I call your stores racist because you do not sell Chihuahua cheese. At home in Chicago, its discs are at least relegated to half an aisle, surrounded by low-fat Greek yogurt and shredded cheese mixes for Sunday night football 7-layer dip. Did you know that they even coat the little strands in potato flour? Because God forbid they clump a bit in the bag. God forbid your pale fingers smell like the subtle tang of carefully curdled milk after you undo the soft, globby knot. In Chicago, Chihuahua and queso fresco are not allowed to live with the bries and the goudas, but when you reach out for that potato-dusted plastic approximation, I hope you remember the word supremo. But here in Indianapolis, I trawled the miscellaneous dairy, waded through the Chobani and the 15 brands of butter and butter substitutes. Yes, this is how you know I even checked the Whole Foods on my quest. And when I came upon the dangling sacks of shredded lies, I could find no Chihuahua. At the Kroger, there was a tour of the wide, white world of cheese. But oh, it does not see color. Does not care if the cheese is white or orange or green on this multi-tiered display of dairy that stretches 30 yards. There's a cheese attendant even to answer any curd-related question that melts its way out of your mouth. On this long gingham altar, each of the dozens of cheeses has a descriptive plaque, a pedigree and pairing guide, a full paragraph of text. No Chihuahua. The closest thing is Spanish Manchengo, but I am not here for the hard bite of colonization. I want to melt into Chihuahua, pull strands of gooey tang to build bridges to span river crossings. At the Whole Foods, in the top row of the display case, far above eye level, there are a handful of small orange bricks labeled with only one word, quesadilla. In the bottom corner of the label, in small text, is a pronunciation guide. It does not read quesadilla. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Next up, we'll have Dion.
You say. This is called Repartenacious. Where's the wordsmiths, the lyricists, vocab jugglers, foreign phrase smugglers? They got more publications, bigger reputations, but if we took a quorum in this forum, would they blow minds or bore them? Shakespeare, make your will. You month of May need it. After the fog of your doggerel thuds in the mud as you slog through the layers of hog rule. Take a head start up verbal hill to race me. Is that a feather in your quill, or you just scared to face me? Got a black crow for Poe. Hiding up in his Ravenhaven in yesterday's clothes, unbathed and unshaven. That polecat's clever with rhymes galore behind his chamber door. Too bad his mind is 2 centuries behind. Got fangs that bang with ailments he ain't heard of. Spitting pulses of pangs with slaying words he never got word of. So long, Ed. Birds flown, bells rang. Can't say I hate to do this, Emily. Sophomore English teacher adored you, Miss Emily. And I was a punk teen, too smart for class, too scared to cry, too sad to smile, and your style, Emily, eluded me easily as I feebly toiled with my measly ability, and my shrunken heart boiled with unprofessional jealousy, and tiny brain roiled with phrases that evaded me. Now I'm older than you've ever been, and I'll win by default, because your cult aged out and halted, no longer vital. Nope, it's not fair, Em, but you leave like your poems, no title. The 20th century clearly can't handle me. Bob Frost ain't the boss of me. Thomas Stearns ain't crossing me. Double E. Cummings, the look on your faces suggesting this could be one of your lower cases. But no, sir, as you were. Watch Ezra Pound get clowned with a verse from my coin purse, crushing fascist trash with ashes on one curse. Rode up to Harlem in search of Hughes Cross's Cullen on the corner. County his losses. Send Philip Larkin barking at the darkened hearth, the hark back love songs and age, the vocals start with crackled sage. Do I have sufficient rage to combat the wrath of Plath, or stare eye into eye with Maya in the birdcage? Don't doubt me. If you can't bear to watch, carry on without me. I know the directions, you don't have to route me. See you at the apex, sipping my coffee. Sweet speech on my lips, dripping like honey. Your halting stances, dipping like tipping trees. Salty ellipses, slipping with hesitancy. Faulty delivery, crippling the industry. While I'm up here carefree, skipping like Dorothy. The next unknown to ascend to the throne's gonna get stuffed and puffed like a calzone. Because I got the intangible touch you study so much but cannot reach, like a distant vista you drone.
Thank you, John. Third, we will have Scoot.
No. Hi, that's me. This poem's called Indy Reads. Love poems are like the 2 years of French I took. No matter what I'm trying to say, I always manage to mess it up. Example, I could say you're the sun, the cosmos, the telescope through which I gaze to view the softest parts of our pale, wise moon. And it would come out as a J. Maple Scoot. That's a French joke. I could say that you're the only paint I want to stain my canvas with, that each new color you show me astounds me more than the last, and well, it would sound like, Je voudrais une omelette du fromage pour favor. If I want to say you're beautiful, it's je ne sais pas. If I want to say I love you, it's je suis une baguette. And it drives me wild because I know when I should be listening in French class, or poetry class, or advanced poetry class. I'm just trying to think of better ways to say what you are to me. And I know that between us, just like French, I get to see it best. I know I'm an even worse listener than I am a bad student and a hopelessly tongue-fried francophone, and overall kind of a loser, but despite that list of things I made, you keep smiling at me. You're always there telling me, keep talking, keep writing, keep being bad at this. You always dig through everything and find something worth keeping, so I guess what I'm saying is I want to spend all my future conditional phrases with you. I want my je suis to become our nous sommes. I want every morning to be bonjour, tout était très belle. I want you to know I have no idea what that means. I want you to know that my French, my love poems, my jokes, my this, it's all bad. That you make that a passing grade.
Next, we will have Elizabeth as our coordinator.
Hello, my friends.
Hello.
So, yeah, I'll stand. Oh, no, my legs hurt. Oop. All right. Hello. This is a poem called The Hermit. The moments after a hermit crab moves into a new shell, all echoes and empty corners, strange noises that would not normally be so if not for the barrenness of it all. Or rather, the nautilus. I find myself closing and locking doors after myself, chamber after chamber into more manageable spaces. Safe house, I mutter as I turn out the kitchen light. Safe house, I mutter as I sneak down the hallway with a stick of bare, swollen feet. The first step for long-term survival in the wilderness is to establish a routine. It keeps you sane, they say. I narrate this new routine as I make it up. The first step is to get in your pajamas. I pick my comfiest pair and strip down. I have forgotten to close my new bedroom door, and for a moment I revel, giddy with shamelessness. A preview, I hope, of more comfortable days. But once I am clothed, I must leave my room. The next step is to wash your face and use the bathroom. I do this in opposite order. I know I've already relieved myself at the bar, but the routine can't break, especially on its first run. I wash my hands, Lux white foam. I look in the mirror, and I see a woman. I stare, morph her features with my fingers. I remove her glasses, hold her hair back, and suddenly she is a world-weary hag. She picks her pores some more on her nose, forehead, breasts. She makes herself bleed, makes 2 notes. 1, get Band-Aids tomorrow. 2, cut this part of the routine. She uses cold water to wash her pallid face, her neck. Soap gets in her sunken eyes. She swears in a whisper, someone is outside the door. She knows. She puts the glasses back on, lets her hair back down. She becomes deep breath, diaphragmatic. No one is behind the door. Of course not. Silly, I mutter, silly. I pour a glass of water from the tap, drink deeply. Water tastes different here, but God, I am thirstier than I have ever been. I retreat to my bedroom, safe room. I close the door. I lock it against the no one in the darkness. I wonder if I have the energy to put this heart in motion into my hands, create. And now I wait. I wait. I wait.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So our last reader for the first round is going to be John, and then we'll tally up the scores.
Woo, John! Woo, John!
Woo, John! Woo, John!
The things that we learned in MFA poetry workshop. Ordering elements and dialogue tags through the curation of the images, we get the speaker. A reordering might help the narrative arc. You get a burst of the speaker being overly self-aware. Sonically, we're using that a lot, and I want to protect that. So put it in another poem. I like the density of image. Gives us a little bit more of an echo. That's such an ambitious line. I wonder if the metaphor knows what it's doing. I feel the speaker jumping into this poem a little, maybe where they don't belong. The first couplet was super dope. Working the assonance, sonically beautiful phrasing. I like the lines that seem to cry for gestures. That line sounds cool, and I can project meaning onto it. It has such lyric energy. Just so see what other verbs can function there and still elevate. This is what I think the poem's doing good work. This is about the city and all of its incongruities. At a craft level, if that's what it's trying to do, it's working. I felt like I needed something else to increase the potency of that last line. I think there's more to dig into here. Thematically, there's a lot to unpack. The title hints at an absence that's not backed up because of the fullness of the poem. I feel that the speaker has a point of view, but we don't know what that is. There's no battling towards some uncomfortable place of resolution. There's a strong sense of voice from the beginning. The long lines are really serving the voice in the narrative. It's so brief, but I want the poem to rest there a bit. I think that's working a magical realism thing. The poem is self-aware. I get the escapism, and I'm here for it. I like the complexity of this voice. The lines are so spare. It's like a tree in November. I want to make the language pop a little bit more. I would just play with how that lands on the air. There are all these opportunities. I don't like the ending yet because I don't think it's earned. I can see that image, but I don't know what it means. I see multiple possibilities of being. Whatever your peculiarity is in poetry, you have to chase that. You're the only one who can write those things. You've got to tap into whatever it is. Commit to it and make it yours.
Okay, so just give us a few minutes and we'll get the totals and then we'll tell you who's winning. Woo! Go Sophie.
I found out that I'm not in here. Yeah. In here. Our
No, it feels good.
down. She's like, yeah, I'm just showing you so I can only church, so. I really think you're proud of yourself. Yeah, right before spring break. And my friend was like, I almost waited till after spring break. I'm so glad you did. Not you guys.
That's
Yeah, right?
that's
So everyone did a really great job. Thank you for participating. In no particular order, the three that will do another poem is JD, Dion, and Scoot. So, Scoot, will you come up and do your second?
I will. Prepare to be destroyed. This poem is called What's the Opposite of an Obituary? This poem is for the guy who logs onto Facebook and realizes that his life is better on a screen or on paper. This poem's for the woman who prays day and night for things to look up, or at least in any direction but straight ahead. This is for optimists who piss their friends off with sentences like, "You're gonna be okay and things will improve." Optimists who realize every bright side has a penalty, most often loneliness. Or poems and last-minute texts that say, "I'm so sorry, I can't hang out, I've just got so much to do." We know. We're sorry. We're sorry for everything. This poem is for my friends who would rather take out another student loan than a deep breath. Friends who say, "Thanks, you too," when the lady at the ticket booth says, "Enjoy the show," and you still haven't stopped thinking about it. You know exactly who you are. My friends who need a shower and to brush their teeth, and oh my God, they're so hungover, and was it worth it, and did they make anyone worry last night? Regardless, the 4 hours of beer-induced headache sleep were deeper than the beach someone I know very well almost drowned at when she was 6. This poem is for poets who remember the salt water holding their lungs like small birds, poets who remember that it's the sky that makes the ocean blue, but even that never even mattered because Mom always told me you can just look up. Look up, if you squint hard enough, there's always blue somewhere in the sky. This poem is for the person who even then, just a kid, hesitated to reach up. The one who learned early how easy it'd be to give her breath to the salt water, whose dad pulled her out of the murk just when tunnel vision started closing in. We're sorry for most things, especially breathing. But that's probably too messed up to say in a text, so here's your poem instead. You wonder if the ocean would have used that last breath for something good, but you write your thoughts down anyway. You're still learning that no breath is wasted and looking up above the water. No voice sustains itself, but one above water, off the screen, the page, infuriating, optimistic voices that in deep, beer-induced sleep insist, yes, this will be beautiful. And if it isn't, there's always the sky to look at. There is always blue somewhere in the sky if you squint hard enough.
Okay, next up we'll have Dion for your second.
Thank you. Rocky Mountain Locust. Fly, grasshopper, wings are your new weapon. No more frog tongues, no more wasp stings. Open the floodgates on a dozen springs. Block the sun of 2 summers. Replace the ruling harvest kings. Multiply, crash the abacus on the mathematician's table. Rise and turn the skies abuzz. Soar above the goldenrod and honeysuckle. Make every farmer white knuckle, knees buckle, interrupt abruptly into bankruptcy like the modern tariff sheriff. How did the plains regain the grain even after all the winged remains decayed as further plagues of wind and rain assailed the trails with grasshopper-sized hail? What did we think, not I, but the very man whom I resemble, whose twin I might have been if not for years betwixt, which to the mighty universe have scarcely been a thimble? He may have turned to his lead farmhand and complained, "It's getting so a man can't even steal no decent land, can't swindle his way to success like my daddy with his second mistress. She was the rich one." When they cowered down in the well, all faded echoes of town counted double as the one-trick brick that could make it all rubble bore the enigmatic inscription, unread like tea leaves, unsaid as a tree grieves. The wood that would, if it still stood, mourn the cataclysm it held back for epochs, and knowing no further mechanism to reverse the schism, burst through a cloud of poison with toxic limbs, while fire united with fire like a choir harmonizing into hymns. Each ill ounce of venom held within an organism, every wither milliliter, drop of grudge, septic blood, blocked in ancient vessels for meters, flying forward like famished birds flock and feast on February feeders. No holy village hath a church spire higher than the laws of swollen banks require, to plunge, water sodden in Sunday attire, smoke-soaked pillage, flooded flame, baked, boiled in a wet pulpit, split by lightning and hail, leaving lifetimes of tales untold, travails untoiled, the road wound unrailed, spoiled soil unveiled, long goodbyes, heavy sighs, gave rise to hand-wringing whys. Yet when the mist desists, blue skies. Dear grasshopper, your long-delayed flight could reschedule tomorrow night, or stay grounded 1,000 years hence. The Great West might be yours again, as you behold the rampant beauty and destruction wrought in all the intervening years since, your last beautiful, destructive reign, from which we've learned so little, it wouldn't fill a grasshopper's brain.
And last, for our second round, we have JP.
We only think of the wiring in the walls when the fire truck has already arrived and we're standing in the January evening, red licking our eyes, dancing in the night air, crawling up the drywall. My every inch is cold, and inside every inch is electricity, potential to catch, and we keep catching. We are burned by what we're put to. The cigarettes and wine behind my father's walls, the weed and sugar behind mine. I bit my nail bed yesterday, and my fingers ran with red crescent moons. I must be full of them, ready to burst. It still hurts. It's worse out in the cold. There are frayed nerves under the nail, but how could I have known? The men flood the house, shatter windows and buckle floors, smash walls. My God, it's full of walls. God, it's full of wires. God, I'm full of water. We drown in our own blood and mucus, and the snow keeps falling, and you keep coughing, and the tree is still twinkling. God, it's so beautiful from out here.
Also, all three of you will get a free booth subscription for a whole year, and then the winner of the slam will also get a book that they can pick from the bookstore. So just
yeah.
Oh, the magazine.
Okay, so the winner is Scoot. Yay! Thank you to everyone else. You all did great. We're just going to take a few-minute break, and then we'll switch into the open mic night. Woo!
Yeah, if anyone would like to sign up for the open mic, the sign up sheet is right up
This is the second time I just
This is basically, if you know, in the subsequent water, it's oh, yeah, 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 I just really respect your to finish this is a long way of saying kind of what, oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my.
Second poem, you read the poem,
What if I just started they all
It was very good singing. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's like
Yeah, they had a pretty good Mexican pipeline.
At this point, I mean, the characters and what's it? Yeah. Wow. Yes, I'm finishing the script. This one. So that was talking. I know about just taking one or two classes.
I don't know what's
I know.
Hello again, everyone. I guess we'll get started. So we have 7 people signed up. The first one we have is Kaya.
Thank you. So this is a poem from my poetry book, and it is called In My House of Steel and Glass. In my house of steel and glass, you shut it down, you don't feel it, and you get rid of it instead. In my house of steel and glass, you're taught how to clean everything down to the bone, till the ground shines with empty promises dropped on the floor. In my house of steel and glass, your thoughts never last, before they're taken by the burn, the sting to want more pain caused by you, a part of Mother Earth. In my house of steel and glass, lullabies ring, songs that were touched by beauty in the spring, faded by blurred blotches that have blinded the way you see. In my house of steel and glass, when the world feels like it's ripping at the seams, you can go to breathe. In my house of steel and glass, flimsy metal mixed to take up by fast, round every corner they sit and laugh, waiting for me to surrender at last. In my house of steel and glass, we aren't addicted, we're in control, even if sometimes we lose it all. In my house of steel and glass, the words you say never really last. The medication you take never really can fix the thoughts that take over you. In my house of steel and glass, you are found safe at last. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaya. And now we'll have Jonah.
A desire to move around the world in liquid flow. Our bodies drip down below the ground beneath us. Recycled spirit guiding our steps. A push and pull of need follows. Hands, tension, relief. Our feet set to the steps paved by the direction according. Together unwinding. Spin, don't dip into the vat of charcoal paint. Let our toes tail the tail of coordinated creation. Onto the canvas. Our movement in space. This documented embrace of two in sync. Traced together in stone.
Okay, now we'll have Thomas. Woo, Thomas!
Okay, this is called Love Letter to Lalo. My father's cousins, imprisoned Chicanos, low-level gangbangers rot in prison cells, while the real gangsters, the police, the DAs, and the politicians, they live in two-story homes and mansions and private estates. Justice is claimed when a father dies in a cell, yet we mourn a pig's deflated ego. We call them pigs because they eat past full and people starve because of it. They will eat themselves alive when it comes to it. That is the only justice they will know. Thank you.
So this is kind of a longer piece, and it's a little bit pop culture-y. I don't know if anybody here has seen the Hobbit movies. I'm working on a full manuscript where I take my favorite character from the movies and put him in different locations and stuff. So this is a portrait of Thorin Oakenshield in a Coney Island, because I wanted. Taking your orders is a formality by now, but the form must be observed. Same sandwich every time, fries, extra crispy, coffee, and a glass of water. Sometimes I spot empty sachets of sugar. Sometimes the coffee stays black. But every Friday, you come to this Coney place at the same time every time. 12:30 or so, I look up as the bell above the door rings, and there you are, rolling your coverall sleeves, giving me a smile that says we've been here before and will be here again. I've always wondered where the name on your left breast pocket comes from. Scandinavian, maybe? But to ask would upset the unspoken equilibrium, so I stick to wondering, and you stick to wondering what I'm wondering. Or maybe you don't. I'm a waitress, not a psychic. One of the cooks knows you, or maybe he only knows you as far as I do and pretends to be more familiar. He yells across the pass, "How's it going, Thorin?" You smile. "I'm still here, Bo," you say, in your low, across the blonde baritone. Still here. The usual? The usual. I got you, man. And that's it. I've always wondered why you say I'm still here like that. Like you're putting on a brave face. Like being wherever here is presents a struggle, a sacrifice, a martyrdom. But anyway, you always come in alone, but I know you've got family. They call you on your phone just as you're about to take a bite. "Your kids are gonna kill me, sis," you say as I warm your coffee. "Those boys pull one more prank in the shop and I swear." You stop to give me one of those smiles and a polite thank you. But I don't get to hear what you swear you'll do because the Karen at table 3 looks me in the eye and taps the rim of her mug. You see this? Glower at her on my behalf. Your glowering is pretty impressive if you don't mind my saying so. By the time I'm able to get back around to your booth, you've pulled out your notebook. This is my favorite part. I've snuck a glance and seen the silhouette of rhyme and verse and line break. Never been able to read any of it, but I sure would like to. Something happens when you write it. Something happens and you're suddenly more than what you are. Like you belong somewhere else, somewhere grander, more important than the Coney Island on the corner. But that's probably just me being romantic. Sometimes you forget your notebook and scribble on the napkins that avoided the grease of your lunch. Secretly, I've hoped you'll forget them, the napkins, I mean, and I'll finally be able to meet you, really meet you. But you never forget them. You always fold them, slip them into your pockets, then sit for a moment or two, looking out the dirty window, slowly draining the last of the coffee from the best mug I could bring you. The view's always the same. Dead flies on the sill, a parking lot full of beaters, one scraggly oak tree by the street. But you never seem to be looking at the tree but past it, as if your eyes can look so far away that you're seeing what you want to see, what you really want. I've always wondered what it is you really want. I always bring your check after that. You always tip at least 20%, and you always wait until you can give it to me personally. I appreciate that. The busboy's got light fingers that I can't afford. Today, though, something's different. Today, when you hand me the tip, you take my hand and shake it. Thank you, you say, and somehow you put 1,000 words behind it. As you leave, I look in the palm of my hand. You've wrapped a napkin around a $20 bill. Not just a napkin, a note in blue ballpoint pen addressed to me. To me. Hang in there, kid. You're doing great. I don't know why this feels like goodbye. I'll ask you next week, I say to myself, knowing my chances gone. As the bell above the door brings your leaving in my ears.
Okay, so we have 3 people left. Accidentally.
This is called 4 minutes. Me and my Indiana Guard Reserve Sergeant Stripes. We're all about train, train, train all the time. We're squared away and certified. Call us for your next disaster. Got a portable field hospital, 50 doctors and nurses, urban search and rescue when buildings collapse, and triage for mass casualty events. Class began in the fall. Gunshot wounds, delivering babies, cervical spine stabilization, fast tourniquet on a mannequin's severed leg. Femoral arteries are bad one. Hemorrhagic hypoperfusion. Move too slow, and your patient's dancing with the angels. In the dark humor of responders, they say, all bleeding stops eventually. 8 months, and it's time for the tests. 2 written exams, then psychomotor skills for the state certification. First station, a guy struck by lightning on the golf course with burns. Then a guy, 17, stabbed in the arm. Is the scene safe? Blue nitrile gloves, body substance isolation. Patient holds the pressure bandage while you slip on the tourniquet. This is going to hurt, sir. One patient escaped his burning house, had difficulty breathing. Another fell off a 10-foot ladder. What would Hippocrates say? First, do no harm. Assume spinal injury, stabilize the head and neck so he can still walk after we save him. Finally, elderly neighbor on the sidewalk, unresponsive, no pulse or respiration. Assume cardiac arrest. Live long enough, and it may happen. You don't train for the test, they say. You train for the day when you're the only thing between your patient and the grave. With no heartbeat or breathing, they're clinically dead. But there's still O2 in the blood. You've got 4 minutes before biological death. Delay 10 seconds on the test, and they fail you. Push down hard on the sternum. Bones sometimes break. Squeeze the heart between the breastbone and the spine. Move blood to keep the brain alive. 30 chest compressions, 3 rescue breaths, 5 cycles of fierce effort. Lights blinking. The automated external defibrillator has a voice. She sounds concerned. Everybody clear. Shock. Then more compressions. Keep it going. Ambulance on the way. Focus with so much to remember. Stay in the moment. Don't think about them, the patients you never treated, the pain of late night calls that brought you home, your dad, your brother, your best friend, cardiac cases on the golf course, in the kitchen, in the garden. Focus. Goddamn, do your job. A pause. Stop compressions while the machine takes an EKG. No time for images unbidden. What was 4 minutes like for Dad, for my brother, for my best friend? There will be another handshake at drill, a salute and some paper. But first, a little moment as the test ends and you catch your breath. You catch a look from the EMTs. Damn, Sarge, good effort. Probably broke 4 ribs on this patient, but they'll live. Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, you okay?
Our second to last poet of the night will be Analia.
And you pronounced my name right, so thank you.
Hooray!
This is just a short poem, but it's called Indiana. I am 6, puttering into a cornfield of stalks, towering as tall as our city, back down the gravel road, planted in perfect uniform rows like students in their seats. Somewhere in this maze, my blood pulses with the rhythm of stolen bliss, by disembodied limbs of my parents' tree. Heaven drips through cotton ball mist in an ocean in the sky, but the tooth of a snare snap, like infant produce swaddled in chlorophyll, eyes wet and maddeningly itchy, raking my jagged nails everywhere until tiger stripes sheathe my skin. Later, my mom will help shuck my fuzzy clothes, cooing, "Skin the kitty cat," like the time I scaled a peach tree, determination sour in my mouth, sour as the time Daddy moved. I hear my father's voice like a lighthouse, but it's just more ghosts.
Okay, and before our last person, I just want to remind the 3 people who got to the second round in the slam that they can visit back for their prize. And last we have Sarah have two poems, if that's okay. This first one, thank you. This one's called Multnomah Dreams, and Multnomah is a county in Oregon. There's like a beautiful waterfall there, and that's basically all you need to know for this poem. Multnomah Dreams. There's a Pacific Bigfoot and an Appalachian one, depending on who you ask. Mine takes my hand and leads me through the Smokies, across fallen dogwoods and blankets of ash. Oh look, the mountain's out today, he says, pointing further than my eyes can follow. The Watauga River connects to the Willamette if you squint your eyes, turn the map on its side, take a few liberties. I'm sure that's how Lewis and Clark got there, through wistful thinking and dumb luck. We follow their ancient path out west, hiding during the day and fearfully running in the night. In the end, my Appalachian Bigfoot looks at me full of sorrow, delivers me to Pacific Bigfoot, like a refugee mother would her child's safety. He glances over his hairy shoulder on his way out, doesn't need to say a word. I know that I'll miss him too. Pacific Bigfoot leads me to our new home, far beyond the falls, across beds of pine and blankets of moss. We find a man lost along his journey, jittery and itchy and beaten down. Bigfoot extends a kindness to the man, gives him water when he asks, looks him in the eyes and says, I'm sorry, I wish I could do more. Thank you. And then my next one is called Daybreak. A bruised knee, an aching back, waking up still in my jeans, hungry cat, missing husband. Your uncle died last night. Did your father tell you? No, Mom, he didn't. I don't mention that he tried to, that I have an unread text. I have many unread texts. How are you holding up? How's therapy? We will be attending the funeral. I'm going to send a plant with all of our names to the funeral home. Should I go too? That will be your choice. Last summer, my mother and I had dinner at a brewery in the town I was married in. Your father is dying. I nodded, chewed my burger, looked at her fries. He'll be on oxygen within the year, dead in 5. I asked what she'll do with the house, what she will build in its place. We were solemn, but we were intact. We ate, we talked, we went home. I used to know how to do the cat's cradle, building shapes with string, my fingers looping around intersections and making something out of nothing. I could rollerblade even down the hill in my neighborhood without falling. In my dreams, I swim in the pool at my grandmother's house, the one my uncle bought for us. He does not lose his temper. He does not pour my father a drink. I'm worried about myself. My best friend knows loss. His father's ashes in a box on his mother's closet floor. He knows lasting damage, knows the sins that make men break, and, most admirably, he knows forgiveness. You're not untreatable or unfixable, and I wouldn't even say that you're broken. A broken man continues to break, but this time just himself. My siblings and I are grown now. Who am I trying to protect? I didn't attend my grandmother's funeral. I calloused myself unnecessarily. I went years without looking my father in the eyes. I watch more sunrises than sunsets, albeit through the cracks of my blinds. I slip out of my jeans, take off my jewelry, feed the cat, check my texts, open one of them. I'll go to the funeral. Thank you.
So that concludes our open mic portion. I just want to thank you all for coming out. You did a great job. And thank you to everyone who did the slam and also just the open mic. And thank you, Kat. I don't know if they're still here, but